This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, MICHAEL Coveel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. You know, it might not seem like the most important thing for you, but so the thing that I have to figure out in the next few days is I've promised a friend that I will take her to shoot machine guns one morning this week. And I figured, well, I can get it in the morning because I got to take a flight in the afternoon. And then, you know, I've seen all these TSA videos where they do this to you and they do that to you and they grab you here and they grab you there. And I'm thinking, well, damn, is this the smartest idea in the world to be shooting machine guns in Vegas and trying to get on a plane 4 or 5 hours later? Am I going to be covered in so much fucking, God, who the hell knows what I'm going to be covered in? But I just wonder if I'm going to set off all kinds of sensors and some dog's going to bite my ass. But so before I get into talking about some trend following ideas, that was the thing that was on my mind this morning. And so if you have any ideas about whether this is a smart move or not, drop me an email. I know I posted something on Facebook asking for feedback. It seems to be mixed bag. So, but listen, one of the more interesting things that came across my desk over the weekend, I'm not a huge golf guy, but I watched some of the Masters, and I watched this guy, Bubba Watson, hit that great shot to essentially win the Masters. But what caught me, and I'm always listening for something, I'm always listening for an idea, a nugget, something that inspires me or relates back to the idea of trend following. And there was a commercial that came on, an IBM commercial. Let me go ahead and play that real quick, and I just want you to listen to this commercial. So hold on one sec. Okay, here you go. It's coming. It's coming soon. Here you go.
To Bobby Jones, golf wasn't just a game. It was a science. A subject worthy of study. By focusing less on his score and more on the mechanics of his swing, he performed better than anyone in his day. It just goes to show you, looking at data is one thing. Knowing what to do with it, well, that's a whole different game. Let's build a smarter planet.
Boy, there is some great stuff in that. That is, you know, so trend following-esque. And so let me start with the big one. You know, we all think about the score. We all say to ourselves, I want to make this amount of money. You know, you see the goal. You know, I want this. I want to make this $1 million. And look, I had the first goal too. I said, I want to make my first $1 million. And that becomes the goal when, you know, but once you do it, you're kind of like, okay, what's the next goal? And then you start to realize, well, maybe that's not the best goal, a pure monetary goal. So if you think about what they're talking about, they're saying, you know, it's about the process. It's not the outcome, process versus outcome. I've put examples of process versus outcome. And there's a little chart in one, I think it's in my trend following book about process versus outcome, which I implore you to take a look at again. But what it's saying is each day you have to get up. And let's say from a trend following perspective, you have to know what your system is. You have to follow the rules. But by following the rules and following your system, you can't engineer a predictable or predefined performance. Doesn't work that way. You can go ahead and do all the right things, take all the right steps, but you can't control the outcome. And that's exactly what that Bobby Jones commercial was doing. And I don't know how many people were sitting around and inspired from a trading perspective to think, oh, wow, IBM, very clever. I don't know if they intended to give a trend following Trojan horse lesson, a secret lesson hidden inside their golf commercial, but they did. And I loved it. Now, of course, if you go back and look at the commercial, you should take a look at it online. You know, you're going to see some nice visuals and all that stuff. And of course, Bobby Jones did not have all those nice visuals, you know, decades ago. But that's not the point. The point is, did he focus on process? And, you know, instead of worrying about his ultimate score, was he worried about how he swung clubs? What was his movement? Being very consistent and not trying to predict exactly how something was going to unfold. Stick to the process. I mean, I just love that. That's just it's the absolute way you need to think as a trend following trader. The other aspect of that commercial was they talk about, having data, and you can have all the data in the world, but how do you know what to do with it? Now think about this. Right now, in 2012, I don't care what website you go to, and I'm friendly with a lot of these guys. I like their websites, all the big names that are the aggregators of daily fundamental information, data points. You have all this data coming at you. You're just sitting there like at a chair, like that old freaking, what was the old audio commercial where the guy was sitting in like a lounge chair and the speaker was blowing back at him and his hair was blowing back and he's kind of like, you're just sitting there taking all this information in, right? This is what goes on each day. You just wake up and you sit down like you're a pilot. Figuratively, everyone is doing this. You sit down like you're a pilot and you have all your devices, you plug yourself into the system, into the matrix, and then you sit back and all this stuff comes at you all day long, right? And then the day's over, you go to sleep, you wake up, you take a shower, brush your teeth, and you sit back down in the wind tunnel again, and it blows at you again all day long. How the hell do you make money with all that? Right? So that's, once again, we're looking at that commercial as a trend following lesson. The first lesson being process versus outcome. The second lesson being, what do you do with all this data? Well, you don't do anything with all that fundamental data because you can't make money from all that fundamental data. You can't. It's like the guys that say, follow Twitter, look at millions of tweets from millions of people, and then you could predict what the market's going to do. Oh, really? Hey, I got some swampland I want to sell you in the Great Dismal Swamp in southeastern Virginia. You ever been there? The Dismal Swamp? I mean, seriously. Yeah, okay, I'm a little worked up, but it's true. It's all this information, all this data. So the question is, when you have all this data, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with all the data? You're trying to figure out a way to make money, right? That's the goal. You want to make money. So you have all this data coming at you. Does it help you? Yes or no? I mean, even in the abstract, if you know nothing about the markets, it's almost it's self-evident that you can't use all this information. Nobody can. In every device that Apple sells us, and look, I'm an Apple fan, but every device Apple sells us is about getting something faster and quicker and easier. Here it comes. I mean, just as a side note, I have to interject. Have you seen the new Google glasses? Okay. You put the Google glasses on, right? And basically it's projecting an image up in the corner. And so you have the glasses on, you're sitting there, this commercial's insane. You're making your coffee, you're looking at the Google glasses, you're answering your email with voice commands, you're talking to your friend, there's the girlfriend, she can see the video of what you're seeing outside your glasses. Oh, you're walking down the street, the Google map pops up in the glasses. No more iPhone, this is just in your glasses now. Okay, so great. We've now got this miniaturized world where we can get every fact ever known to man is at our disposal. Everything is at our disposal. Every last thing. Immediately. Now, is that data? Of course it's data. Is it knowledge? No, it's not knowledge. It's not knowledge at all. It's just data. So now we have access to knowing every city block, every street, every address, every street scene. You can see everything. And eventually it's all going to be real time. You'll be able to wave to your friend and the satellite will da-da-da-da, and everyone's going to see everyone on the street. We're going to have all this data. Guess what? Markets are not going to all of a sudden go flatline. They're not going to all of a sudden only go sideways. They're still going to trend up and down because guess what? Human beings are crazy. Human beings are people. Human beings make irrational decisions. So we're going to have all this data, and it's like we're being sold on the idea that all this data will make you a better person. All this data coming at a faster rate will solve your life ills. You will be richer. You'll make more money. It's all coming at you quicker once you put your Google glasses on. Now, look, I'm sure they'll put Google glasses on, and then Apple will sell you something that you swallow a pill, and the new iPad will stick upside somewhere in your lower intestines, and you'll be able to access that in some other way. Look, all joking aside, it's probably true. So we'll have all this information. Back to the Bobby Jones commercial, back to the IBM commercial. Data. Google's giving you more data with glasses. What do you do with it? You don't do anything with it. It's too much. Trend following lesson. Skip it all. Go straight to the heart of the matter. What's the heart of the matter? The heart of the matter is real simple. You're trying to trade. You're trying to make money. You want to buy something, you want to sell something, you want to end up with a profit, or you want to sell something short and buy it back and end up with a profit. Either way, you're trying to make money. And at the end of the day, there's only one variable in the markets that counts, and that is the price. That's what you trade off. You don't trade off all the other stuff. The other stuff is the sideshow. The other stuff is the opening act. That's the guy selling peanuts outside the gladiator arena. That's, millions of tweets is like, some homeless guy giving you peanuts as you're headed towards the real event. And the real event is price. And what I mean by that, real simple, is each day when you make a decision to buy or sell, you're making it off the price. The other stuff is irrelevant. So, once you make that decision, once you make the decision that all of the fundamentals out there are either too much or irrelevant, then you're left with, okay, what's the most important piece of data? Price. Now, it's still just data at that point. But when you apply a systematic routine, when you apply a way to buy and sell that price data in an organized, systematic fashion, in a way where you know that the world's unpredictable, you know the world is chaotic, you know the world is uncertain. That's the world. That's what we live in. Chaos, random, unpredictable, uncertain. Right? Don't say wrong. If you're saying wrong, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Clearly I'm right. It's an unpredictable, uncertain world. So when you have this system, here's your at the jump off here is that I've been rambling on about data. Okay, the jump off is about knowledge. Okay, so taking we've gotten rid of the fundamental data. We're talking about price data, but price data is still just data if you don't have something good to do with it. If you don't have a good approach. So now that you've got this price data, applying knowledge. This is what I do in my career. I help people to understand ways to look at this data through a systematic lens to make money. That's what my books do. That's what my film does. That's what my other educational materials do. All my blog posts. It's the whole enchilada. And I sometimes feel like a guy who's out in the wilderness by my lonesome. But don't get me wrong, lone wolf's the way to go. Lone wolf is a heck of a lot more exciting to me than being a part of a herd of sheep or a pack of coyotes. That's no fun. The only people that ever achieve, and this motivates me personally, and I hope it motivates you, but the only people that really achieve any kind of monstrous success in their lifetime are lone wolves. Oh, you can pretend you're part of a success on the team that you're involved in, and the team building, and the hand holding, and the kumbaya, and all that other nonsense. But guess what? You're going to be 90 years old someday, and you're going to look back on your life, and you're going to say, what did I do? Did I do something? Did I make something happen? Did I create something? Did I have any art? Did I make something happen? Or did I just follow the rules, play by the playbook, take what was given to me, sit on the couch, wait for the next government transfer payment, and just pray that I don't get hurt? Because I don't want to get hurt. Getting hurt's not fun. Getting hurt sucks. Actually, you know what? Getting hurt's fun. I like getting hurt. Little pains never hurt me. Little bloods never hurt me. Usually it tells me I'm doing something right. I'm learning something. Yeah, don't call it a ramble. You know I'm saying what is the truth. This is the truth. This is the heart of the matter. Look, to be a trend following trader, you need a system. You need rules. You need an approach. There's no doubt about that. That's one side of the ledger. The other side of the ledger, you got to have some guts. You got to have the mental makeup. You can't be a blank. And since I played baseball, you know what I just called you if you are one. You can't be a blank. It's not good. You got to have some cojones. You got to have some skin. You got to get in there. Think about what I'm saying today. I'm going to move into a couple other segments. I'm going to take a quick break. But I think this is really important. And say, this is how my mind works. I see that one commercial from IBM. I'm Bobby Jones, and I'm not a huge golf guy or anything. But it's inspiring. It's truly inspiring. The illusion of predictability. That's today's world for you. We've got to a situation where the leaders, the social planners, the people that purport to put your retirement policies and plans in place, whether that's the Fed, Congressman, Fidelity, they're basically all the same thing if anybody's really paying attention. They're not different animals. They just have different titles. But we're in a situation right now where everything's being compressed and everyone's being saved and there's no losers. Everyone's a winner. Now, clearly the housing market's not a winner, but when it comes to, quote, the broad equity markets in the United States, everybody is a winner right now. And if we're all honest with ourselves, we know why there's been some recent winning in the equity markets. It's because we have a system that is now geared towards these small invisible results, these gains, these visible gains. And these are engineered. But what's not visible is the pent-up risk. You know, if you're going to give somebody, if you're going to give constant free lunches out, you have something else building up on the other side of the ledger, which is eventually the bucket of free lunches empties. And so if free lunches have been promised for as long and far as the eye can see, and then all of a sudden the free lunch bucket empties, just imagine like two tectonic plates rubbing against each other. Friction happens, a jolt. You know, Nassim Taleb is famous for calling this a black swan, a rare, unpredictable event. Now somebody might say, "Oh, Mike, you're just talking about fundamental stuff now. You're trying to just, you don't like the Fed and the government. You're taking a pot shot at it." Look, I'm a human being. I don't like what the Fed and the government do to our society. They've rigged the game to where people like Goldman Sachs win no matter what they do. Okay, other people get bailed out, and then other groups don't get bailed out. Yes, it's a shitty system. Okay. And so I think, and this is where I'm ultimately leading, but if you acknowledge that it's a shitty system, if you look at what's going on, if you look at the system being rigged to where you're getting these small incremental gains, It's like in The Wizard of Oz, Oz was behind the curtain and he was just one guy back there and he was moving all these levers. And outside of the curtain, this fantastical scene was going on. All this stuff was taking place. We're kind of like living in reverse of Oz, okay? It's like what's going on behind the scenes is massive. It's huge. There's more levers being pulled, more grease being, laid out, more essentially bribes being done. There's more funny business going on right now behind Oz's curtain than we could ever imagine. The largesse behind that curtain is just huge. And then, unlike with Oz, where he could be behind the curtain, one guy, and make all this stuff outside the curtain happen, outside the curtain right now, for us, very small little gains. There's not much going on, right? So all this stuff is taking place. The leader of the banking system, the banking cabal, Bernanke, is doing all this stuff for these marginal little gains. These marginal, eeky, tiny little gains. And then when you see the gains are so damn small and you see the inputs are so damn great, you just scratch your head and you say, God, geez, this is exactly what Talib was talking about. This is the kindling for the next fire, the next surprise fire, right? You need this for the next black swan. You need massive coordinated effort by policymakers, policy, as I affectionately like to think of them in my own mind, policy goons. People that have a huge effect on the economy but don't have any real involvement with the economy. They just sit outside it, and they poke sticks at it, but they don't do anything. They just screw it up for everybody else. So there's the scene that I see today, right? That's the scene. All this engineering taking place, right? I got some great quotes. I'm going to read a couple of these, you'll see where I'm going with this in a second. But let me find this one great quote. These are two quotes that I picked up, and one is from a guy named John Hussman. I don't follow John's trading advice, but he has some interesting writings, and he talks about what's going on with the Fed. And once again, you're going to see where I'm going with this, whether you're on the left or whether you're on the left politically or the right politically. That's not what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to lead you to an understanding about as Talib would say, a fragile system. So Hussman says this. He goes, investors have to assume that they can safely speculate until some particular date arrives on the calendar, and they can all take their profits simultaneously. Chairman Bernanke believes that by creating a bubble in speculative assets, people will feel wealthier and keep consuming, regardless of the fact that real incomes are stagnant and debt burdens are already intolerable, and despite the fact that there is extremely weak evidence for any such wealth effect in the historical record. I don't know. I'm not talking about a trading strategy yet. I'm just talking about there's the lay of the landscape. That's what you're faced with. That's the world, right? A bunch of guys in DC and New York think by jerry-rigging the interest rates. You save your money for 40 years. You got a big pile of cash in the bank. You'd like to get some interest as you get older. They create something called ZIRP, zero interest rate policy. Now you're shit out of luck, okay? Because now you don't earn any interest income, okay? So this group of people that are engineering this whole scene, we know this is taking place. I mean, I don't like it personally, but I'm not really trying to give a political view on it. Just laying it out there. I really think any sane person would have a hard time saying, well, Mike, yes, you're incorrect that that's not factually what's taking place. That's what's taking place. Come on, folks. We all know it's taking place. But I got another quote that I wanted to add to that, too. And this was something that I found on, I think it was on Zero Hedge, but just take a listen to this for a second. Quote, the high levels of employment reached during the 04-07 period were achieved on the backs of the housing and debt bubbles. During that time, economic growth was boosted by 400% as a result of people taking equity out of their homes, mortgage equity withdrawal. Considering no one has any equity left in their homes to withdraw, economic growth and the jobs that come with it are going to have to find another adrenaline shot. If you know the next big thing, feel free to share it. The world needs it, end quote. Well, I've been saying this one for a long time. I mean, technology is eliminating the need for human capital. If you don't have an entrepreneurial thinking to yourself and you're just hanging in there working for the man, and that's all you've got planned for your entire life, man, I'm going to tell you, you better get ready to eat a lot of cat food in your older years, because that's what they're going to be serving at the poorhouse. You know? So once again, what I just read, all these jobs that were created during the bubble related to, freaking housing, gone. So you got the John Hussman line about what the Fed's doing. You got the reality of what took place in these bubbles. And now you have a current situation where the Fed is, got those levers out and they're moving these interest rates fast and furiously because they just think that if we can keep stocks up at a high level, that will generate wealth. Now, for those of you out there that are thinking, well, Mike, you're being kind of political, let me clarify myself. Being long the NASDAQ this year was the proper trend following move, regardless of why the NASDAQ was going up. The why doesn't matter. Being long the NASDAQ was the proper move. That's the trend following move. Almost any trend following system would have you in that move. That's the smart play. The reason I've set all this up, though, is to lay out the scenario for chaos, for unpredictability, for a system that is clearly not healthy. And if you know the system is not healthy, look, at the end of the day, let's just face it, let's be perfectly honest. If somebody is sitting around and they're going, yay, Bernanke, I think the Atlantic put out a magazine article the other day, how, they call Bernanke the hero, right? And so if you are sitting around and you're thinking, oh, Bernanke, he's the greatest guy since sliced bread. He's the master of depression, educational research, and he saved the economy. If you truly believe in current Fed policies, then stop paying attention to anything. Just buy and hold and just stay along for the ride, because that's ultimately to say that you're like in favor of current Fed policies is just to turn your brain off and to take what's given to you and trust a couple of these men that they will deliver the promised buy and hold returns that will allow you to have the Shangri-La retirement years. Not going to happen. Come on, we all know it. We've seen multiple 50% declines in the S&P in the last decade. There will be more. Can I tell you when? No. So I want you to think about this. It's kind of, I don't necessarily know if I'm describing it where everybody gets it and realizes what I'm trying to lay out. I'm not saying that just because the Fed is doing some action, I think the market should go some other way, so I'm going to take that bet. No. I'm laying out the case that the Fed and policymakers have taken control of this system and are using the levers of the system for ways that, frankly, usually look more beneficial to the Goldman Sachs of the world. Even though they're doing that, you don't argue with their actions if the market is going your direction and you're on the trend and it's going that way, i.e. NASDAQ in 2012. You get on board, you go. But if you have these folks over here, sticking red hot pokers into the system, well, you have to have a strategy that's better than buy and hold. You have to have a strategy that is predicated on targets of opportunity, opportunistic. You have to have a strategy that says, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't trust this bald guy who is smiling at me on the front of magazine covers telling me he saved everybody. I don't trust him. What I trust is, what is the price doing? Which way is the price going? That's what I trust. But you do have to say, at least in my humble opinion, you do have to say that if there's that much energy going on behind the scenes and such little output, it should galvanize you to think, oh my gosh, this really, really is the time to really adopt a trend following strategy, because this is not going to work. It's not sustainable. There's going to be a break. There's going to be a break. There's going to be a swan. There's going to be a black swan. It's going to swim in. It's going to surprise you. You can't predict it. So what kind of, I'm just going to end you with a challenge. What kind of a life do you want? Do you want a life that says, oh, yeah, all the talking heads told me how great Bernanke is and the next Fed head, whoever that's going to be, and just trust the whole system and buy and hold Fidelity mutual funds and yay? Do you want that life? Or do you want the possibility of making something big happen still? Do you want that possibility? Do you want the possibility of rich? And rich doesn't only necessarily mean the dreaming of $1 billion. Rich could just mean freedom. Rich could mean more freedom, having that excess capital to have more freedom than just being stuck in a system where you just have to trust that somebody's going to take care of you. So ultimately, it comes down to a very American ideal. Do you want to be taken care of? Or does the concept of a cowboy, a lone wolf, move you? There it is. I see my left-hand side. I got over here. We got the take care of. Sit on the couch, wait for the government check to arrive. You're taken care of. And over here, you have a cowboy, somebody who still has passion, ambition, zeal, the drive that makes something happen. Those are the choices. Now, the critics can argue whatever they want to argue, but when you reduce it to its bare essence, that's it. That's your choice. Have a good weekend. I'm going to go shoot. I think I'm going to go try and shoot some machine guns. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash, or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.